Hi guys, so in this video I will create a register form in order to register a new user in our Mongodb. First of all, you need to make sure that your DB is running on the back, and this is the project that we already created in first two videos. We have the model and we have this index.js file, and it has a route register, and that is gets called in order to register the user in our database. Okay, so what I have done already is at the same level, along with the backend project, I have created a project, front-end Angular 5 project with the name front end, and it has all the required files that is automatically gets created using Angular CLI. Okay, so you can see that it has an app folder. Inside the app we have this default files that are automatically created. Okay, and if I've already running this application, if I go to browser, and you can see that this is being printed from the app HTML. If I go right here, you can see that app component gets printed. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to import few modules, and I've already done for you guys. You can pause the video and just import these modules for you to work with. I need HTTP client module for calling the API using a service. Okay, and I need this router module for navigating to different routes, like we have the register route, we have the home route, we have the login route, and we can create more routes along with it. Okay, I need the forms module because I need to create a register form and a login form as well. So I need to import this forms module using this angular/forms library. Okay, and after that I need to import browser animations module. What I will use in this form is Angular material. Okay, and for Angular material usage we need to import animations package as well. If you create Angular 5 project, you will see that the animations module will be automatically imported and created right here in the dependencies. Okay, but for importing the Angular material elements, like I have imported these four things that is required for this particular video. I have imported mat button module, mat cart module, mat toolbar module, mat input module. Okay, and that is from Angular/material. Okay, it doesn't get installed automatically when you create a new Angular project. What you need to do is you need to go and install these two things. You need to install Angular at Angular/material using npm install --save, and then you can write at Angular/material, and same as you need to install at Angular/cdk. Okay, once you will install both of these things, you will be able to get all these elements, all these directives from this library Angular/material. Okay, so once you will import all these things, after pausing this video, you need to import all these stuff inside imports array. Okay, this was already added right here, browser module. Okay, and this has to be imported: HTTP client module, forms module, browsers animation module, mat button, mat card, mat toolbar, mat input module. Okay, so that's been done. Now what I need to do is I need to create a navbar at the top right here, and it will have a title, and we need to create a notes application, so it will have the notes title right here on the left side, and on the right side we will have different buttons. We will have the login, register, and might be few others. And under this navbar we can have a register form, we can have login form, and once that logged in, we can have the notes showing up. Okay, so first of all we need to create two components right here. I hope that you already know how to create components. This is not the specifically for Angular tutorial. I've already created Angular videos. If you want to learn Angular first, I will give the link of those videos in the description of this video below. You can check out that tutorial before watching this one, because I won't be explaining each and everything of Angular 5. You need to learn Angular separately, because this is particularly mean stack tutorial. Okay, so I'll just close the server for Angular 5, and I need to create different components. So first of all, let's create a component called navbar. Okay, so I will write ng g for generate, and component, and after that name of that component, and I'm going to name it navbar. Okay, it's going to take some time. It's going to create the folder of that navbar right here. It's going to add all the required files for that particular component. It has a HTML, it has a CSS file, it has a spec file that is used for writing unit tests. It has a navbar component TS, that is you can call it a controller. Okay, and it has already added this navbar component right here in our app.module.ts, because this is required. If we create a new component, it has to be added. So Angular CLI has automatically created and added its reference in this particular file. It has added it in the declaration array right here as well. Now we need another component, that is register. So I'm going to create the component register, and it will be created just like the navbar. It will add right here and add right here as well. Okay, so if I open up the HTML file of navbar, we can see that we have this text. Okay, first of all, in our app component.html, it's up to us how we organize the structure of our application. In our application, there won't be so many components. There can be 4 or 5 components, so we can directly include different components in our app.component.html file. Usually what we do is we create a separate component called the home, and we load that home, and from that home we load different other components. But right now in the app.component, I will import and include this navbar. Okay, so if I open up navbar.component.ts, we can see that we have this selector app dash navbar. I'll copy it and I'll go to app.component and I will paste it. So I have included app dash navbar and this ended it like this. Okay, so if I run this application ng-serve, you will see that by default the app component loads, and what it will do is it will load all the content that is added in the HTML file of this navbar. Okay, so let's wait for it. It is building up all the new components, and before it builds up our project, I just want to let you know that you can see that I imported this matte button module right here. Okay, and what I need to do is, in order to use the styling of this Angular material, let's go to styles.css file, and I need to import something here. Okay, you can just pause the video and write it as it is. Import at Angular material pre-built themes indigo/pink.css. Okay, let's save this file and close it. Okay, so our application is running. Let's go to our browser and reload it, and you can see that navbar works is being loaded, and this is because the HTML file of navbar contains this particular text. Okay, so now I need to use Angular material thing and need to create the navbar. Okay, so for creating a navbar, let's first create the routes, and you can see that I imported this router module, and using this router module I can create different navigation routes in our imports array. So what I'll do is I will use router module dot for route, and it takes array of objects, and each object has the path, and let's say it has a register, and the component would be the register component. Okay, so what it will do is, it will, when we will create a different link at the navbar, when we click on that link, it will load up this register component. We also need to define where it should load the content of this register component. Okay, so let's save it for now. We have created this register route. Let's go to our navbar, and I will create different links right here in our navbar. Okay, so first of all, let's create mat toolbar. So inside it, let's create our default notes link at the top of navbar. So span router link equals to /, and inside it let's write notes. Okay, and after that let's create anchor tag router link. What I'm doing is I'm not creating any kind of fancy user interface. This is not the HTML CSS based tutorial, but I'll be creating a rough but a good looking interface that you can just follow along with it. You can create a very attractive animated user interface for you to work with. Okay, so the purpose of this whole series is to let you know how to create authentication and all these stuff. You can create your interface yourself. Okay, so it won't be looking that much pretty as it should, but you can create. So what I need to do here is I need to create a register route. A register route is what I have already created in app.module.ts. So I will add it like this. Okay, so let's save it. Now if I go to our browser, you will see that will show up nodes and register right here. Okay, so it is not looking pretty good. What I need to do is I need to change the background of this navbar and bring this register button, register link towards the right side. Okay, so I can do it if I go up and I will write span. I can use the flex style. So flex 1 auto and span. Now flex will move all the elements that comes below it towards the right side. Okay, you can see it says move towards the right side. Now let's give it a class. Class equals to toolbar. Let's open up the CSS file of this navbar and toolbar background and change its light blue color. Okay, so let's go to our browser and you will see that it has the nodes and it has this register link right here. If I click on nodes, we are already at the same place. So you can see that you might be confusing that I didn't create default route / that if there is no particular route added, then where it should go, it will go back to the app.component.ts. Okay, so when we will click on this nodes, it will automatically go back to the app component. Okay, so it is already at the root route. If I click on register, you can see that the route has been changed. Okay, if I click right here, you can see that this route has been changed. Now we need to define the area that when we click on any particular link right here, okay, where it should go. So I need to show the form, register form right here under this navbar. Okay, so under this mat toolbar, I will use a pre-built element, or you can call it a directive. Okay, if I go to the browser, if I click on register, you will see that register works is being loaded and this is coming from the register component. Okay, right here. Okay, so our navbar is working. Now we need to create a form in our register component right here. Okay, this was the text that was being shown at the browser. Okay, so let's create our register component. So I need to use all these stuff that I included from the material library. Okay, so let's go to register component. Let's remove it. First of all, let's create a mat card. Under this mat card, we need to add the title. So mat card title, and you can use bootstrap as well in Angular. I just want to use the Angular material. So user, and after the title, we can have mat card content, and inside the content we can create a form. Okay, so under the form, we can like mat input. We need to create 4 input text boxes for first name, last name, email and password. So container. Okay, and we can have input and we can define a directive mat input. It will let it know that it is a text box, but it has to be Angular material stuff. Okay, so placeholder, first name, and then the name is the first name, and it has a type text and ng model. Okay, this has to be added for getting the data that will be added in these text boxes and get the data in the components in the TypeScript file. Okay, so let's copy it. Actually, I need to create a break tag right here. Let's copy it, paste it 3 more times. Let's remove the break from the end. Okay, so I'm going to change the name, last name. Let's copy the last name and paste it right here. And I'm going to change the email, name, email, and then the password. I also need to change the type. So it has a type email, it has a type password. Okay, let's save it and let's see the browser whether we see something or not. Okay, so let's go to browser and you can see that it is looking pretty fine user interface. Okay, this is the first name. All this animation is coming from the Angular material. Okay, and make sure you already included the Angular browser animation modules as well. Okay, and these are the things should be added in this particular file. And also again, make sure you add this thing. Without it, it won't be showing up the same as it is looking in my screen. Okay, so let's come back to register component, and what I need to do is I need to get the data. Whenever we enter something inside it, we need to get this data in our TypeScript file. Okay, so let me add the br tag right here, and after that I will create a submit button. Okay, and it has a value register, and it is a mat button. Okay, so I will write mat button. Okay, so let's save it, and if I go to browser, input type submit value. Okay, I forgot to add equal sign right here. Let's go back and it should show me a button right here. Okay, so now what is not this styling this mat button right here? Okay, let's add it like this. Okay, we can check the styling of it later on, but for now let's get the data of this form. Let's go back to the form. I'll give it an ID, and that is the form data, and I will use the template driven form technique in order to get the data in TypeScript file. I'm not using reactive forms technique that we can use as well. I have created another video where I have shown you how to create the reactive forms. You can use the reactive form as well. Okay, so I'll use ng submit, and by clicking on this particular register button, a register user, and I will send out user data dot value. All right, okay, so you must be adding ng model right here, and you need to whenever we will click on this button, it has a type submit. This function is going to be called. It is not being created yet, so let's create this particular function in our register component. So let's go to the register component, and inside it let's create a new function the same as this one, register user, and I will create like this, and I will get the user, and I will log the user whether we get the data from it or not. Okay, so let's create this particular thing, and I've got this one. Okay, so let's go to browser and let's open up the inspect, and in the console it should show me the data when we will enter like here. Okay, so I'll write Umer Jamil, and email is this one, my site, and we can have ABCD123 as the password. If I click on it, it should call that function and it should log the data right here. Okay, if I click here, it is not working. All right, it has the user data, it has the ng submit, and we have the mat button. Let's add the slash. Actually it should be like this. We have the type submit, and this is the form. Okay, So let's write again, and let me click on it, and you can see that the files were not saved correctly. I have saved again, and it is showing me all the data that is entered right here and the same value. Okay, so our data is being received from the form in our component. Okay, now we can create a service, and using that service we can call the backend API register, and that API is going to return a success message and register a new user in our database right here. This is our database. Okay, so let's create a service. I'm going to close this project, and I will create ngg service, and I'm going to name this service, let's add API. Okay, so it's going to create the service directly inside our app folder. Right now we only need one service, so there is no need to create a folder services, and inside that we can create different service. Okay, so you can see that it has created this file api.service.ts, and it has added this one. If I go back, and if I let me open up the module folder, module file app.module.ts. So what I need to do is I need to import that service right here. Okay, import from, and that is API service. Okay, let's give it the name. Let's open up the service, and this is the name of class API service, and I'm going to give it the name right here. Okay, so let's copy this one. It should be added in the providers if we want to use this service in our any component. Okay, so let's open up our register component, and inside it I need to import that service as well. So let's go back, and I need to use this import and open up the register one, and let's import it. And right now we are inside this register component. We need to go back, and in order to use this API service. Okay, so let's use colon dot slash, and we have imported it. Let's create an instance of it. In our constructor we can create the instance of it, and that can be done like private API service, and that is API service. Okay, and using this particular variable, the instance of this service, we can call any function that is written in our service. Okay, so first of all, let's go to our service, and we need to create different functions. So right now we only need the registered user function. It needs to take our user, and first of all we need to import the HTTP module that we already included in our app.module. So let's copy this one, and in our service we can use and we only need to add this module word in our app.module.ts only. Okay, we don't need to use this word in our components or services. Okay, so let's create an instance of this HTTP. So I can use private HTTP client. Okay, and using this HTTP instance, we can use HTTP dot, and we can use the post request. Okay, and we can if we go back to our backend index, and we know that it is going to run on the port 3000. Okay, we already added the 3000. It's going to run, and after 3000 it's going to open up that API in this particular route. Okay, so open up our API, and what it should add http colon / localhost colon 3000 / and the register. Okay, this is the route that it needs to take, and after that it needs to take the data that needs to be sent. So user, and after that subscribe response. I'm going to use ES6 syntax, and it's going to log the response, whether it's it gets and it saved the data or not. Okay, so from the register component, I can, rather than just logging it out, I can just call the service, and using this .api service .register user, and I can send the user. Okay, so before running it and checking out whether it registers users or not, I haven't added any kind of validations right now. If we leave any particular stuff right here, any text box empty blank, whether it's a correct value, whether the email is correct or not. I haven't validated it. In this particular video, I just want to go over and create the new user from the front end Angular project. I'll be doing all these validation stuff, all these typecasting, and I need to send the data in the form of strings, in the form of actual JSON, okay, from here, which I'm not doing it right now. That I'll be doing it in the upcoming videos. I need to add encrypt the password as well, and all this stuff. Okay, so let's save it. What I need to do is, if I go to another PowerShell, I have created another two terminals right here in this particular project. Okay, and one is for front end. This is already running, and this is for the back end. Okay, for the back end, let's run the server and let's write node index.js file. Okay, our server is running, and now let's reload this page. Our front end project, I think, is not running as well, so it is not running ng-serve. Okay, so before it runs out, I want to show you that if the ports are different from the front end and the back end, we know that the front end port is 4200 and the back end port is 3000. Okay, so for allowing our front end or any other project to access the APIs that we have just written in our node application, we need to enable the CORS. Okay, and for enabling the CORS, we need to include the CORS module, and we need to call the CORS library in order to work with it. Okay, so our front-end application is running. Let me show you what error it gives. So let's me Umair Jamil. Okay, and if I click on register, it is showing me update failed, status 500 update failed. Okay, the reason is that it is calling this interface. It is printing out the result, this one. Okay, it means that this API is accessible to that particular Angular project. What I need to do is I need to go back to our Angular. Okay, and I need to use npm install -- save, and I need to include CORS library. Okay, npm install -- save and the CORS. Okay, so once it gets installed, let me first include it above. So var CORS equals to require and CORS. Okay, so in order to use it, let's use the app right here, app.use and CORS function. Okay, and one other thing that I want to do right here, rather than sending out just the status, let me add send right here, and I can use a success message. Okay, and failed to add user. Okay, let me increase the lights. Okay, and after that we can send out the status, and status would be the 500 from here. Let me copy it, and I'm going to change the text. Successfully added new user, and the status is 200. Okay, so let's save it and let's run our server again. It is giving me error, app.user is not a function. Actually, I have written user right here. It should be app.use. Okay, so let's run our server again. So our server is running on port 3000. Connection has been added. Okay, so now let me make sure that our front-end project is running. Okay, so let's go to our browser, and it needs to be reload again. So Now let's add the data right here, and we have already added the email. Let's change it to the site and change the password ABCD1234. Okay, so let's register it, and you can see that it is giving me a response status 200 successfully added new user. Okay, now in order to verify whether it has actually added a new user in our database or not, our database was already running. I showed you how to run it in previous videos, and if I open up the RoboMongo, this is our database mean auth angular. If I open up collection, let me refresh it, and now open up the users, and we can see that we have this particular object. Okay, so let's use this icon in order to see it in the JSON format. If I click on it, you can see that this is the data that I sent. First name, last name, this was the email, and this is the password. Okay, so let me add another user from here. Okay, let me write John Cena, and I will write John from here, and password will remain same. Okay, if I click on register, it has given me a message successfully added new user status 200. Okay, now let's go back to our database, refresh it, and add the collection and user. We can see that there are two fields now. Okay, let me open up it in JSON format. Okay, we can see that we have the second object right here, and we have the first name John, we have the last name Cena, email this one, and the password is this one. Okay, so for this particular video, that was pretty much it. It took a long time, but I hope that you have learned a lot how to add different things and made a connection between the back end and front end. Okay, one thing more that I want to let you know, make sure that these data that is being sent from this form should have the same name, like first name, last name, email, and password that we added in our backend. Okay, if I open up the backend model user.js, we can know that we have the first name, last name, email, and password. Okay, it has the same name that I added in the component. It doesn't create any problem if we add a different name. We can recreate a different object in our register component and send an updated object with the same name as our user model has. Okay, and then we can send out the updated object in our register user function of that service. Okay, there is not much added right here. I need to add a lot of validations right now. I need to add the password encryption fee. That is really important. I need to create token based authentication as well. Okay, so stay tuned. I will create more videos in couple of days, and you will know that how to add all these validations and add the token based authentication and all these encryption things. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe my channel. That really matters a lot with me. And if you want to buy a book, I will give the link of that book in the description below. Make sure you check out my Angular 5 videos as well. If you don't know how to create Angular project, make sure you like it and comment below if you have any question. Thanks for watching.